What's going on, guys? I got Ninja Turtles. I got Ninja Turtles. Oh, I got frickin' Ninja Turtles. I got Ninja Turtles. Yeah, frickin' Ninja Turtles. Yes. Okay, I've calmed down a little bit. Guys, if you've somehow been living under a rock, then you don't even know about these. But they are the kind of 6-inch-ish Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the original live-action movie. And they are from Neca. These are my first Neca figures ever. And, well, these are all technically re-releases from the SDCC set from last year, which came with a cool diorama, if you went that far, or they just came packaged in a really neat thing. This is, of course, the new version that you can only pick up at the GameStop. So it's got the little sticker down there. And, of course, shout out to my buddy Laura, or Laura. It's strange that I don't actually know how to pronounce your name. You don't have a U in your name, so you never know. So thank you so much for letting me know these had hit the store, because I missed out on the pre-order. Not once, not twice, 3 times I missed the pre-order. The last time I was actively trying. I pulled over on the side of the road and was trying to buy them online. Couldn't catch them. Now you guys could buy them all at once in a 4-pack, or you can buy them all individually, separately like this. Either way, they are really, really very cool. I'm going to do all 4 at the same time, so this might be a long-ish review, but I have a feeling like there's not going to be that giant of a difference between them. You know what I mean? Like a figure articulation and things like that is all going to be very similar. So we're going to be looking at the details. We're going to be looking at accessories, which are, well, pretty much pizza for everybody. And yeah, I'm so excited. I haven't had a Ninja Turtles toy since the late 90s, mid 90s, when they were still, when they were doing the live action movies. And I had stuff from Ninja Turtles 3, which wasn't the good one. But I had Leo from that with the samurai armor. And I think I had Donatello. I'm pretty sure I did. Either way. But my first Ninja Turtle things in a long time now. Neca has also re-released cartoon versions that just came out, this week. I'm not trying to hunt those down right now. I got these. They weren't cheap. Well, they're inexpensive. They're about $22 to $25 a piece. If you see people gouging for them, call them on it, because these things are no more than $25 a piece. Just so you know. So, no more than about $100 for the entire set. I saw somebody selling Mikey alone for $110. Screw that person. No scalping. No scalping. Either way, let's get a close-up look at these different packaging. So we're going to start out with Leo, just because it's pretty cool. Of course, you got him in there, in his packaging, or in his plastic prison. You got one of his swords here, presumably the other one is somewhere over here, off camera. You can see a spare hand there. You got the weird slice of pizza there. And you've got what basically equated to the movie cover. So these boxes are meant to replicate the original movie cover. And because Nickelodeon now owns all the rights to TMNT, that's where you get your Nickelodeon logo, although they weren't remotely involved in this Ninja Turtles movie. You got your GameStop sticker there. You got crud hanging off of it. Come to this side and you get a nice image of Leo there. The movie logo and a nice shot with him standing there very pensive-like. And you got the Necco logo there. Come to the back, you got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Leonardo, and kind of a stance with the swords. Close up on the face, although with that lighting it looks purplish. And you got all of this read-up here. Oh, it does actually have a read-up. I'll just let you guys check that out real quick. Pause and go ahead and read it. So he's at least 6.5 inches tall. I was just saying 6 because that's kind of like the main thing. And you got 30 points of articulation. That's pretty awesome, including double elbows, double knees, fully showcase Leonardo's stealthy moves. And I like this. Great shot here. And then this interesting Necco logo down here that looks like the old school Deke logo from VHS. Please tell me any of you remember that. Come to this side and you got a shot of the actual figure. That's beautiful. Alright, let's check out the next one. Moving on, we've got Donnie. Mr. Donatello in there. Looks pretty cool. Can't see his bow staff. I'm fairly... Yeah, you can right here, just off to the side. I kind of wish it had a, like a fold-open cover. Also, these got really dusty in just a short amount of time I've had them. Honestly, guys, this is the first time I've even looked at them since I bought them. Like, they've been in the bag until I started doing this review, which has been well over a week. You got at least one hand there. Looks like a bow staff holding hand. You got the same stuff on the front. Of course, it says Donatello. You got a great image of him there. Come over here. Another really great image, although it looks very frog-like. That is a figure, though. That's actually cool. And then another one shot there. Necco logo, as usual. Come to the back. You've got him standing there with his staff, just listening in on whatever's happening. Action pose. A thumbs up with the pizza. That's awesome. Okay, so pretty much the... No, okay, it's almost the same read-up. Let me check real quick. It's nearly the same read-up until about here. They spaced it differently. Okay, until you get to Crime Fighting Quartet, it's the same. After that, it's Donatello's Turtles resident techno genius. Make no mistake, he's world-class with the bow staff. The highly detailed action figure stand, 6.5 inches tall, and featuring 30 points of articulation and all the things. That's cool. And we got Mikey. Nice. His eyes are a little creepy. But I think the eyes seem to be one of the quality control problems that people have been having. Obviously, we'll look at it a lot closer whenever we get them out. So we'll see how, whatever that problem might be. Pizza, nunchucks. I don't know if he has 2 pairs of nunchucks or just 1. I guess I'll find out by looking at the box, huh? And in case you're wondering, this little cord coming across here, I think is just for holding them in the packaging. For a second, I thought, I was like, man, they messed that figure up. Nope, okay. All the stuff on the front. You got Mikey there. Thing there. Mikey there. Come back here. This is just great. Okay, it does come with 2. That's awesome. Got the pizza. There's your read-up right there. He's easygoing, free-spirited brother who loves being a turtle and loves his pizza, but make no mistake. Does it say make no mistake on every one of them? Yeah, it does. That's funny. This wise turtle never pays full price for late pizza. That's true. Okay, these little 2 bug-eyed right there. That's a little creepy. A little creepy there, Mikey. Okay, this review might go longer than I think if it gets into really, like, posing and stuff. Let's get to Raph. Oh, look at him. The jerk of the turtles, as it were. You got Raphael there. You got his size, both of them. Right there. All the stuff on the front says Raphael. Come to the side. You even got the nice scar on his cheek there. That's always good. While this is happening. Really nice things. He's having a conversation probably with Leo on a rooftop. I love the rooftop thing there. That's pretty awesome. There's your same readout there. Skilled side-wielding ninja. Beware and get something you don't want to be around. Highly detailed. Oh, this one doesn't say. But make no mistake. Because Raph don't make no mistakes. No, he's probably the one who makes the most amount of mistakes throughout the movie series. Either way, there you go. You got Raph. Alright, so that's it. That's everybody in the box. Let's bust them out now. So, it's actually the next day. It took me so long last night to actually get the turtles out and posed and go over the accessories and all the different things that I ran out of time and had to get to the Gundam Club meet. So, here they are. Got all 4 right there. Of course, you'll probably recognize that because it'll be the thumbnail. But each one comes with their weapons, comes with accessories that are all similar, if not the same, and then different things. Now, one thing I'm going to point out before we really crack into accessories. If you look at the boxes, if you see the way they're holding different weapons and holding different things, they all are using different hands than each of them comes with. So, just going over it really quickly. So, we've got Leonardo's stuff. He comes with an extra blue bandana that hangs down. They all come with an extra one. I believe the molds are probably all the same, if not very similar. Maybe they're individual, I'm not sure. Depending on which way you're rolling it over a shoulder, they could all be the same. But he comes with that. Has a nice wash on it and stuff. So that's pretty awesome. He just pegs into the back of the head. And he comes with 2 of these open hands like this. And I used it as reaching back to get the sword, but I guess it could also be for martial arts moves, like things like that, stuff like that. And they're slightly flexible. I'm not going to hold a pose or anything like that, but they're flexible. And they'll have the wrist peg and hinge. And he also comes with these kind of pinching sword holding hands. And of course he's holding one over there. And every single one of them comes with a slice of pizza that, as far as I can tell, is the exact same thing over and over. So just be wary of that. So Leo was one of the only ones I did not swap out hands with somebody else. Donatello, on the other hand, pun intended. So here is his alternate bandana. Looks pretty good. A little less dirty, but nice shading. And he comes with these kind of holding hands, slightly different, but I just got him holding the pizza. Like I said, they all come with it. And then he came with more kind of hands like that, I think. This hand right here is actually from Michelangelo, the thumbs up hand. But in a lot of the images, it shows Donnie using it. But I've got him currently using his bow staff holding hand and the open hand to do that pose. So you couldn't really do it with just the straight holding hands. You couldn't really go into position. Raph, of course, extra bandana. No big deal. Same as everybody else's. Well, you know what I mean. Maybe not molded exactly the same, but the same idea. He's got a really tight pinching hand for holding his size. And he comes with a couple of those. This is a pizza holding hand, though, not a sai holding hand. Well, I guess it could probably go either way, honestly. But I think I robbed one of the sai holding hands for Donnie. But these hands where he's holding the sais openly like that, those didn't come with him. Those came with Donnie. But those are the ones meant for that pose. It even shows it on the box. It's crazy. Mikey got his extra bandana. Extra thumbs up hand. And then pizza holding hand. Now, like I said, I've got him using one of the more open hands, the like more relaxed hand like this, to hold his nunchuck. Now, we're going to talk about Mikey specifically. I'm going to go over all the turtles individually. The articulation is the same, so I'm only going to do that once, and then we'll go over the details and stuff like that up close. We're going to start with Mikey. Okay, now one thing you'll see is that he has dropped his nunchucks. It's because his hand, while it is good for holding slightly open things, just not quite tight enough for holding these the way it shows on the box. Like I said, the boxes show things that they don't really do. So I had him holding the nunchucks like that. The other thing I like to do is to tuck them in the side back here. Like that, because I think that's how he held them, or had them in the movie. But one problem I had. I tried to achieve the over-the-shoulder pose. Like this, right here on the back of the box. I tried replicating that. It did not work because his arms couldn't flex enough to get into position. And, in fact, the string popped. So I've actually had to super glue the string back in place. Now I'm going to talk about something right now. So you've got these bandanas that it comes with. One type goes over one shoulder, one goes over the other. The picture here, that is not a solid molded thing. You can tell that is actually cloth. Same thing over here, because it's not even the same position, and none of the things they come with can go over both shoulders at the same time. So, kind of false advertising there, Neca. It's very similar to the way Unboxing Art complained about the the gremlin figure that comes with popcorn things that don't actually go over the ears properly as they're shown on the box. So I can't get him to make this pose because his elbows don't bend enough, and then the string wasn't long enough to actually go around the back of the arm without popping. So there's that. So this is the standard holding hand, but of course it's only tight enough to hold one side of the nunchuck at a time. I'm just going to set this over here. We'll get to it. Now, up close and personal like, you can see the molding is really, really awesome across this figure. So they give him the very reptilian kind of wrinkled skin, almost like an orange. No pun intended. You've got the spots on there, the different shades of green across the body. The actual bandana is coming across very, very orange on camera. It's a slightly less orange and it is weathered a bit more. The shell is a nice fade job and bent out. That looks pretty good. The soft rubber belt, which I'm worried about that over time, has some painted studs and then some like an oil wash kind of. And you can see some more studs across the back. The shell is really, really nicely molded and weathered as well. You even got the gasket kind of between the body and that. The elbow pads, I think they're all roughly the same kind of brownish reddish color and then weathered over, though they might have just slightly tinted difference. His looks a little bit more orange if I'm honest, but you can see the shading done on the body. And if you go back to my Gromorian Guard video, that's very similar to how I was weathering him. And you can see under here you get some nice detail in between the shells. Come down the thighs, really nice ripped like panel line and shading there. Like I said, his knees and his knee pads, his elbow pads look a little bit more orange, a little more red. Looks pretty good. Come all the way down to the feetsies. You even get painted toenails, all Shrek-like. Looks pretty good. And you got the back of the legs. You even got some veins going on there on the calves. That's pretty good. Now, we'll use Mikey as the articulation example because, well, he's the first one up. So, the head is on what feels like a ball joint because he can rock around both ways, up really far. So there might be a hinge in there somewhere, and it comes down. But the only thing that sucks is the neck itself doesn't move. That's all in the head. So there's that. Actually, I didn't talk about it, but if you want to stare into his eyes, they're nicely painted brown. And some people have problems with the eyes. They look a little bit wonky. So, from the head, we'll come down to the torso, where he does have at least some kind of ball joint, if I had to guess, so he can swim around inside his shell, so to speak. Looks pretty cool, though. I'm like almost thinking he's gonna have, I know it's a strange thought, might have nipples inside there. I don't know why. I'm thinking, oh, he could be shirtless. One thing about it, the shoulders, there's no butterfly engineered in it because they wanted to keep the sculpt, but you got a slightly ratcheted shoulder that can come up about that far. Can't really get it anymore. And being that this is Neca, I'm not going to force anything. But it's probably a mushroom peg with a disc hinge. So it's got a couple of ratchets in there, but they don't really move. No bicep swivel, so they keep the sculpt back in there. But you do get above the elbow rotation and below the elbow rotation. And you got two disc hinge things there for the elbow. So it is actually a double jointed elbow, like it says on the box, but you're barely getting 90 degrees out of that. It should be more. I feel like the armor, or the pads, get in the way. Now the hands, as we've already discussed, are the same soft kind of plastic. And he's got a hinge for a wrist, and it does rotate. But it's very limited. One thing you can kind of see on the box, there's a set of hands that is different. Because instead of the hinge going forward and back, it's going side to side. So they could rotate the wrist up and down, which would be useful in 90% of the poses they try to tell you that they can do. I did sort of miss it, but you got a more painting in here on the thing. And you've got a nice little tied knot there. There's obviously not going to be any main torso articulation, but, you know, Doesn't really have an ab crunch. I mean, the body sort of moves in and of itself. Oh, he does have an ab crunch. I'm sorry, because of that ball joint. The legs can rotate out, but only so far, and there's a swivel in there too. So it cannot do the splits, which seems very short-sighted considering Ninja can kind of tuck it in. You get thigh cut with rotation way up in there, but you're going to mess up your sculpt a little. You have a double jointed knee that really only gets you just past 90, and that's being generous. But you do have rotation above the knee, so you can get a little bit better of a pose out of it. They almost did a good job hiding that joint, so it's just too high. Ankles are on mildly ratcheted things there, and then they can swivel a lot like a lot of Bandai and Hasbro feet, so that's not a big deal. And for comparison, just real quick, there's Wally, and there's Power Ranger. So, kind of when they did the crossover in that really terrible episode of In Space, they're kind of similar. So these guys are a bit over 6 inches. These are about 6.5 inches, so I guess technically these are a bit bigger. So these almost kind of scale to the Turtles. So, cool. Unlike a Marvel Legends, which I'm not going to pull any out, but probably not going to be similar in scale. But as it goes, I mean, they're good, but one thing I'm noticing is because there's no side rotation to the elbow and the wrist can only go so far, this is what I'm talking about. So that showed it to where this part here is actually completely behind the arm. And I've done a lot of things, so like even really kind of doing this number, but without the wrist being able to turn downward, there is no way to make that happen the way it does on the thing. I mean, he can get into this kind of pose like he's about to whack somebody, and that's fine. And that's cool. The head sculpt is where everything is really where people are going to love these figures. You can get some teeth and a tongue and stuff like that molded in. Looks awesome. So, that's done with Mikey. Let's move on to Raph. Alright, so Raph, the kind of older brother, very serious, never really can, let things go. And got the nice squinty look. His eyes are really just back in there. He's just got his kind of grumbly face going on there. I'm just gonna have to work to like stay this far out because my lights are not quite there. So looks pretty good all the way around. I want to see. Yep. Okay. So there is different molding for his shell because his shell is usually pretty beat up and scarred. So he definitely has that. One thing they didn't necessarily capture as differently, but I guess, a little bit. They are slightly different colors, just ever so slightly different greens, different spot patterns, stuff like that. So he's got the much, heavier shading on the head, a little bit more yellow around his nose or beak, whatever you want to call it. More spots concentrated, things like that. Different. And each one of them seems to have a different level of kind of dry brushing going on in there. Raph, I think, is the worst, honestly, because that's kind of rough compared to how smooth some of the rest of it looks. He does have the holsters for his size, so you can take them out of the hand. They are molded very nice and actually not soft plastic like I'm used to from other figure lines. So they do go in there fairly nicely. You just got to watch out for the legs. I wish they were just molded at a slight angle so they were tilted back. And his belt doesn't like to stay up, if I'm honest. So just got to be careful. And he is poking himself in the thigh. But I like these hands for this pose. I think it looks really good because he's not doing the between the knuckles, which I figured that would have been a much better hand to do. But, it is what it is. And you can see here he's got the darker colored knee pads compared to Mikey. Mikey's had that orange. Like I said, you can see there's a good difference there. Maybe it's just a different level of filth and staining and stuff like that. Because, Raph is a bit more trained A little bit more rough and tumble, so maybe he's just got more experience in the mud, so to speak. But he's one of my favorites for sure. I just love the details. They really did capture the characters. I mean, that was the goal. I mean, these are basically like a shrunk down version of the giant, like, quarter scale ones, which were super detailed and this, that, and the other. And they even have Shredder and a Splinter that's supposedly coming. So we can assume that there'll be a movie Shredder coming at some point for this line. So, like I said, not a whole lot to point out, just slight differences. We already looked at the rest of the accessories, so I'll just move on. Check out Donnie. And good old sciencey boy himself here. Got his nice bow staff with a bit of twine there for grip. Works pretty good. You can pull it out of his hand, sort of. Now this particular hand isn't really going to hold the pole, so I mean, he'll sort of hold it, but if you want, you're going to have to come back here, figure out what direction your elbows are facing. And see, they can never tuck their arms in tight. Even the pose I just had him in on the box, much, much tighter bend to the hands. Like, he's not even going to be able to shoot pool here. But he could sort of hold that pose. I'd bring that back just a little. So he can do that number. And he does have the different kind of belt, much higher up on the chest. Comes around here to the back. And he's actually got a couple of knots tied there. So if you want, you should be able... I have not actually done this until just now. Should be able to just chuck that in there. And now he's got a staff on the back, which is pretty cool. And you can see, while their heads are the same, they do actually kind of give him a little bit different. He's got a little bit more of a beak on him compared to, say, Raph. Slightly more round face. And then because he's a little bit nerdier, they kind of made it almost framed like glasses. And of course, a newer version, he does have glasses. He's got a little bit more of frown lines. Kind of a scowl because he's just like thinking and pensive and just... And once again, this is where having actual cloth bits here would be great. And they don't. But, I mean, overall, Donnie looks good. Now, let me take a quick look, because I haven't compared them directly. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Very different shell designs. He's only got a couple spots in the middle. That's good. I wanted to know that they were really putting in the effort, because in the old days, they didn't necessarily, except for changing the color. And say I wanted to have him reaching up over his shoulder like Leo is to grab his staff. You'd have to really... Yep, I thought that might happen. Look, it just came untied. So, it's that easy to screw things up a little. So, that's that. I'm going to have to figure out how to get that back in there. It's like, I guess it was just one slid through the other, huh? Not even like a good knot. It's not even a good knot. You heard me. I'd much rather had an actual molded piece of plastic for that instead of a real piece of string, or whatever you want to call this. I might not bother. That's going to be pretty difficult to fix. Yeah, I'm just not going to bother. He just won't wear it on his back. So it's pretty simple. But I like Donnie. He's a good one. And like I said, you got to really rotate. One thing you got to notice is to rotate the elbow inward like that. You might get the space you needed. But like I said, from my point of view, from my experience, they cannot tuck their arms in very tight. And considering certain poses, that's a flaw. But I can get him to at least hold this pose nicely, and he's actually kind of holding himself up with a staff. And he's just like ready to talk. So, about that thing. Alright, let's get on to the leader of the group. And here we go with the star pupil and the leader of the group. The fearless. The Leo. And people are complaining about the eyes. I don't really see that big of a problem. He's sort of looking here instead of looking straight. I kind of wish you could like move the eyes, to be honest, or there came with different head sculpts. He has a major flaw, and it's the way that this is attached to his back. Notice he can't quite reach his swords. But one thing that's interesting, there's a cutout here for the top, so the sword can actually swing out a little bit more. Now, whether that's accurate or not, versus whether it's just for the toy, I'm not sure. I do dig that, though. I like that it's just got different layers of wrapping, stuff like that. Another new and different shell. And you've got his ninjato, or sword. They're not katanas. Pretty cool. I like that. A little bit of a nub here on the end, though. And this is, of course, using his sword-holding hand on this side, and that one on that side. I really wanted him to have the left side, like, bandana. Not, for some reason. Because, like I said, it is just a left side or right side deal. They don't do anything else. There's not like they can be draped wherever you want, because, you know, they're not made of fabric. And I really think that, you know, the fact that the box flat out shows every single one of them with loose fabric bandanas just dropping down, doing whatever they want, you know, hanging under their own weight, making it look far more realistic because it was real. Now this thing is not wanting to cooperate and go into the back of his head, which is probably why I haven't changed it until just now. There it goes, finally. So, I'm going to have it like that. I think I liked it better on the left shoulder. But you can really change that up so much. But, Leo's good. But, once again, they went a little weak here with the brushing. Like, this is all probably nice and airbrushed, along with a lot of it. And then on the side here, they definitely hand-painted it, because you can see the streaks. And it's just not quite as good, just here on the side sections. And I like the fact that they all have similar, but definitely different leather belts going on. But honestly, if you want to get accurate to Ninja Turtles 2, well, basically just put all their weapons away, because they weren't allowed to really use them ever. Only in the first scene did they ever truly use their weapons against anybody, but first thing that Leo does is toss his swords into the ceiling, so that he doesn't actually attack any of the Foot Clan with his swords. And then Michelangelo hits somebody with sausage instead of actually using his nunchucks themselves. Raph doesn't really ever use his scythe for anything. And Donnie fights somebody with an inflatable punching clown instead of actually his staff. So, there's that. Yeah, there's all the turtles. Not a whole lot more else to say, really. It's a great set. I think it's a little bit weak with how they can't quite pose. Maybe it's just me. But I know that the Neca engineering is not great and can have weak plastic and that stuff will break. So I'm not forcing anything if I don't have to. Let's see here. I want to do one other thing here. Because you can swap the hands. They just pop in and out. No problem. That's a right hand, not a left hand. Dang it. I need a different left hand from somebody. I'll give Mikey a left hand eating pizza. Because he is Mikey. His one and true love, other than April. Now, it'd be cool if we get a Casey Jones. I don't care about an April, but a Casey Jones would be fun. Splinter, for sure, although making it look realistic with fur, not going to be likely. Shredder, definitely have to happen. Maybe a Foot Ninja or two that are dressed up from, like, the second movie, where they're a little bit more in disguise. A Tatsu would be kind of funny. Toka Razar, who cares, honestly. And then even down the line, even though the movie wasn't great, some actually, like, really nice NECA versions of the Samurai Turtles might be cool. But who knows? Okay, now I miss Leo having that off to the left. Either way. So guys, if you like these turtles, if you like this review, give me a quick thumbs up. Hit that subscribe-ish button if you are new to the channel. if you want to help support things and help keep this channel moving forward, by all means, hit up the Patreon or check out the Shoky shirts, things like that. And don't forget about my Balls for Balls contest going on the more Gundam side of things. So we're still working on a lot of things there versus the merchandise and stuff, but it's all going to be rolling really quick. So, yeah, okay, that's it for this review of the NECA Ninja Turtles movie figures. I will catch you guys on the next one. And remember, as always, cowabunga!